your voice. We need to hear your voice. Speak, Lord, speak. We've got to.
Accept credit card payments for goods and services on your website with Sagicor Payment Gateway. Integrate in as little as 30 minutes. Conditions apply. The time by Sagicor Bank is...
It's 7 o'clock and it's time for the morning march.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org. And if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, don't turn the students away from school. In the second watch, making light with dark days ahead, the way to lower electricity bills. For our social media question, we ask, what's your personal plan to help lower your electricity bill? Please share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's our quote.
All fire tick easy for catch. Other words, old fire sticks are easily rekindled, which means if a relationship previously existed between two people, it is easier to rekindle the flames of love than to start a new relationship with someone else.
Good morning, Deidre.
Good morning, Dr. Toussaint. How are you today?
I'm doing well, and how are you, my sister?
I am wonderful.
Yeah, don't worry. I won't ask you if you can identify in any way with that Jamaican proverb.
Thank you.
Let me move on. Listeners, the first watch will be back after this break.
Tired of the high interest rates and the whole heap of loan payments every month? Take a debt consolidation loan from AIM to pay credit card bills and all other high interest rate loans from other institutions. Make one low monthly payment to AIM and take home some extra money in your pocket. That's financial freedom. One loan, one low payment, more money in your pocket. Call AIM today to lower your loan payment. And remember, you won't find a better deal elsewhere. Guaranteed.
Juicy patty them double up the choices, and we know say you a go like it. And you face start your morning and fright with a cup of porridge full up of beer niceness. Two combination, which one we try first? When you a go to school or you a go to work, forward we double can't fit twice the flavor. Or could the pecan you end up a pay for? Try our pecan porridge, that's peanut mixed with hominy, or our double corn porridge, that's hominy mixed with cornmeal. Try it today at Juicy Patties, available at participating stores.
Already 20 years the Cameron there? After buying the años in Jamaica? Thank you, our valued customers and industry partners. You made it possible.
Come celebrate this significant milestone with us at any of our 3 properties: Royal Decameron Club Caribbean, Montego Beach, and Cornwall Beach.
Call us today at 876-973-5600 or visit us at www.decameron.com. Let's celebrate the next 20 years together at Decameron's all-inclusive hotels and resorts.
From generation to generation, Jamaicans have depended on J&B Bank to make the pride and joy of providing a safe place for their families possible. Now, with no processing fees and no down payment mortgage options, you can open the door to your own sweet home, a legacy to hand to your next generation. Visit jnbank.com to get pre-approved today. J&B Bank will help you find a way.
welcome back to the Morning Watch. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, at the beginning of every school term, there is the cry and the concern over some students being turned away because of the non-payment of school fees. And every year, the government reminds administrators not to do so. But this also reminds parents that whether they pay the fees or not, their child or children should be admitted in school. But does that apply to every student, every school? And is there any fine print we are not reading? Is there anything we should be noting or have not understood about this regulation? Well, to answer these and other related questions, we have online Mrs. Tracy Ann Taft Thompson, President of the Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors in Education and Guidance Counselor at St. Aloysius Primary. And we also have Mr. Anthony Williams, Attorney at Law, Acting Chairman of Pembroke Hall High School, former board member of Arden High, Shortwood Teachers College, and Edith Dalton James High. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Morning, Mrs. Taft Thompson.
Good morning.
Mr. Williams, good to have you both with us. Let me begin with you, Mrs. Taft Thompson. As you understand it, what and why is the official policy re the payment of tuition fees, as you understand it?
All right. First, I would like to say that it's not the tuition fees, it's really school contribution.
All right. And what's the difference? What's the difference there?
A school fee determines if you are admitted into school or not. Mm-hmm. The school contribution, it does not determine that, but it's a payment that you give. Regular definition for contribution, something that you put towards a pool of funds. So for the government schools, we don't pay fees like school fees, we pay school contributions. Education is free.
Mm-hmm. All right. And why was that instituted, as far as you understand it?
Well, from my understanding, schools, the government, they do give the schools funds for the year, but as we know it, for the government to spread funds to each school, it may not be enough. So the schools ask for contributions from the parents in order to keep the school running and afloat. Some persons will prefer to go to certain schools because they're cleaner, because they offer more extracurricular activities, or they do something more that comes as a result of more finances or being at a better financial position.
Right. Yeah. Mr. Williams, as far as you are aware, are there any legal ramifications and implications of this policy?
I'm not aware of any legal ramification as such, but I just want to emphasize that, and I agree with my friend, that it is not a mandatory requirement for you to pay the fees. It's really a contribution, and these contributions are used to assist the school in many, many ways. When you think of what it costs to run a school, it is enormous, and some parents or guardians really are oblivious as to what the contributions are for. So, you have light bills to pay, you have, the trucking of water sometimes, basically to buy the basic materials. So the subvention that the ministry would provide is really a subvention, a contribution. And so there are a lot of other expenses that the school have to take care of, the maintenance of the school grounds. You don't want to enter a school ground that is overrun by bushes and ferns and unhealthy environment. So unlike the private schools where you are obligated, you are legally obligated, or some universities or many universities, if you don't pay those fees, then there are several penalties, which is you are barred from taking exams, barred from having your transcript, your results, barred from participating in classes or getting certain materials, etc. So, I'm not aware of any legal ramifications in that respect.
Yeah,
Well, one legal ramification would be that if you are denied certain aspects of your education, because it's free, education is free. In fact, our Constitution makes it very, very clear that we have the right to education. So if a student is denied the right to freedom of education and denied certain privileges because they are not able to pay or does not pay that contribution, then that is a legal ramification that I would say that can be addressed.
So you're saying, Mr. Williams, that in such a scenario, the parent or guardian could actually take the school, the authorities to court?
That is correct. That is correct, because they have a right to education. They cannot be denied the right to education or say, well, because you did not contribute $15,000 or 14 or 16 or whatever the case may be based on that particular school. Each school has a different contribution requirement, and that is why they call it a contribution, right? The school has to be run. It takes cash to care, right? A school is like how you run a business, There are ancillary staff to pay lots of expenses. And, when we have a water crisis, for example, in the country, the school has to utilize its resources. It has to now embark upon a critical thinking analysis. Lots of schools, if not all, have, water tanks. And water tanks can hold so much and no more. And when the tank runs dry, you have to draw upon your resources to truck water. It takes cash. Right? I'm just using these simple examples. And, when there's no water, then it can lead to a serious health crisis. Very, very unhealthy situations.
So what I'm now throwing to Mrs. Taft Thompson and then back to you, Mr. Williams, after. What have been your respective observations and experiences in this regard? Mrs. Taft Thompson, you first.
Okay. Observations in terms of how the funds are used?
Well, the payment and the use of the funds. Start with the payment or the contribution.
From what I see, each school, as I echo many of the sentiments as Mr. Williams, each school will have a different amount that they require the parents to pay. And the schools will have different reasons as to why it is that the fund is the way it is. Even the primary level may have a different requirement than the high school. And for the primary school, I do know that from the funds, we pay the students' health. There's a health insurance component to it. There is also the PTA dues that is there. I know for some high schools or probably schools that have buses, it does pay for the maintenance of the bus or even the insurance of the bus or the licensing of the bus. The government doesn't do that. We talk about trucking water. There is also garbage collection. Wherever you have children, you're going to have garbage. And that comes at a cost as well. So
Mr. Staff Thompson.
The
government doesn't deal with that aspect of things, the collection of the garbage for the schools.
The government?
Yes.
I'm not aware of that. I can't speak to that. From the schools I have been at, I see where it is the school administration who finds the funds to pay for that, right? For the collection, because it's a lot. And the trucks would have to come in probably once a week, or depending on how big the population is, twice a week, 3 times a week. Can the government really afford that? It's a lot. Think about it. It's a lot.
at St. Aloysius, where I believe you still are,
Right.
how has that been in terms of the contribution? I mean, has it been consistent? Have
Our
they been having?
parents, I would say hats off to our parents. Our parents do understand the need for it. They do appreciate it. Not
Okay,
everyone, but all. And what we
okay.
do is
I'm so
we
sorry, Mrs. Taft
we
Thompson. So sorry. I'm so
sorry.
sorry. We're up on a break. Hold that thought. All right, we'll be right back.
Get better coverage for yourself and your family as low as $800 a month. The Tie by Jane Life Vest from Jane Life Insurance is
$715.5.
Shake and go with true shake. Shake and go. Grab a true shake and go. When me have to put in the work, but I'm moving slow. Grab a true shake and go. School time and not joke time. Have to study hard, brain full time. Grab a true shake and go. When we up in the gym, we have to stay healthy and fit. Grab a true shake and go. Shake and go with True Shake. Packed with 9 grams of protein, 24 key vitamins and minerals to keep you going. Grab a true shake and go.
The All-American Institute of Medical Sciences, AIMS, is your preferred tertiary institute with campuses in Black River, Kingston, and Mandeville. AIMS expands your mind to an associate degree in health sciences with electives in pharmacy technician, medical assistant and phlebotomy, dialysis technician, surgical technician in 18 months at a cost you can afford. We also offer a 4-year medical degree program and a Bachelor of Science in Optometry. You'll find the AIMS experience to be an enriching one. Enroll at AIMS today. Call 876-634-4068 or visit the website aaims.edu.jm. Medical education par excellence.
Every day I get bigger. Every day I get better. I'm a star and I shimmer. Watch me grow, I'm a winner, yeah. Every step that I take, oh yeah. Feeling great cause I'm learning, yeah. I'm a star and I shimmer. Watch me grow, I'm a winner, yeah. La 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 la. Watch me grow with Alacta Plus.
Help support their mental development at this important stage with a unique combination of nutrients from Alacta Plus. This product is not intended to be a substitute for breast milk.
Well, if you want, buy appliances for your home with the quality high and the price low. Get it on a Bashco. Get it on a Bashco. Bashco. Be everything what you need. Bashco. Quality service guaranteed and a Bashco. Bashco. Store that gives you more. Yeah, Bashco. Get furniture for your house. There's linen, everything for your kitchen. Rugs, mugs, and more at Bashco. The store that gives you more. Bashco.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. And in this, the first watch, we're looking at the, contribution to schools by parents or guardians to offset some of the expenses. And we have online Mr. Anthony Williams, attorney at law, acting chairman and a former school board member. And we have Mrs. Tracy Ann Taft Thompson, president of the Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors in Education. Before the break, Mrs. Taft Thompson, you were telling us about your experience, your observations.
Right. I was saying that our parents at my school, they understand the need for the contributions that the Jamaica makes a muckle. And they are willing to pay. At times, when they're not able to pay, we have conversations as to why it is that they're not. So we do have allowances for a payment plan. So they're able to commit to contributing before the end of the school year.
And most parents or guardians actually do contribute.
Most, right.
Okay. Mr. Williams, your experience, your observations from your vantage point?
Well, as I said, I am the acting chairman of Pembroke High School and former board member of Edith Dalton James and Arden High School. And I find that at these institutions, you will find a large number of parents who contribute to the funds. And of course, as Ms. Thompson mentioned, that you're going to find some exceptions in every school, even in the very top ranking high schools, right? You name them, or the the non-traditional high schools, in every sphere, you're going to find some persons who will not contribute for diverse reasons. Some will not contribute because they feel that they should not contribute. There are others who will contribute because they are of the opinion that it is important for the development, growth, welfare, and general development of the school. So there has been a proactive level of cooperation in many schools, and so they understand the situation. Now, I also want to mention in particular Wi-Fi, which is the internet issues. Now, since the advent of COVID, it has increased the need for a wider broadband width in many schools. There were some schools that had literally no internet service. There were some that had and then had to step it up in terms of the width of their broadband services. And, you know, internet nowadays is very, very critical. And so this is where the contribution will help the school significantly. Because, as you know, over the last 2 years, schools and education across the Caribbean region in particular, internationally, yes, but let us stick to Jamaica and the wider Caribbean, education was actually restricted to online classes. And do you know what it costs for the internet services? It's a service, it's expensive. And so students were able to log on, they were able to do their exams. And when I say exams, their internal exams, their SPA's contribution. So it is very, very important. So all in all, in many of the schools, you find quite a number of parents who understand and they appreciate, and there are those who really are impecunious, meaning not financially well off, but they give you a little contribution. So a school that say charges or asks for 18,000, you have parents who will give up a 4,000 here, a 2,000 there, until they venture. So we want to encourage parents, especially if you are unable to find the entire sum. I can tell you, I don't know of any school in Jamaica, not one, that will say to a parent, oh no, you know, they're not going to accept partial payments as they go along. They are going to encourage them, right? Because not everybody can come up with this 14,000 or 15 or 16 one time, right? And as Mr. Thompson mentioned, that there is the PTA. There's also library fee for some schools, right? There's also the lab. The students use the lab. The lab has to be equipped, you know, with chemical and materials, etc., you know, for the lab. So there's lab fee. There's a library fee. The goes towards that. There's also for the PTA, you know, and so forth, you know.
Yeah, but Mr. Williams, I'm just wondering, how would you respond to those who say, why shouldn't children be turned away, especially when their parents or guardians can more than afford the fees and are simply, as the Prime Minister is quoted as saying, mean-spirited?
Could you repeat the question?
Okay. Why shouldn't children be turned away, especially when their parents and guardians can more than afford the fees or the contribution and are simply mean-spirited, as the Prime Minister is quoted as saying?
Well, the simple answer is found in in the Constitution of Jamaica, which is that students have the right to education. And because they have the right to education, then financing should not be a bar to their entry into school, and whether their parents can afford it or not. It's either you're not there, you know. We have a law that is supreme, that is the Constitution, and therefore, because the law is supreme, we have to go by the law and not on the whims and fancy of persons in society. So students should really not be turned away, and I'm going to suggest to those who have those thoughts to really disabuse their minds from those thoughts. All right?
Yeah, Mrs. Staff Thompson, what's your take on that question or comment?
Well,
let's say
really, sorry?
Go ahead. No. Yeah.
Administrators really have to be cautious in executing something of that nature. As Mr. Williams said, there has to be some thought put into it, and you can't bar a student in a government system, but as a private institution, you have the right to. But in a government institution, it's a bit difficult. So we really appeal to parents to pay as much as you can, pay all if you can, because the schools, when they require it, they have needs that this contribution can assist. Even coming to school now, face to face in September, this is the first full year that we will be in, and the pandemic is not over. And now schools have to be hiring additional staff to sanitize. So the contributions, I know, definitely will be of great value to the schools. Sanitization materials, they're very expensive. Our resources, they're very expensive. And we want our children to remain safe. So please, I would say, please don't even think about not paying, just pay the contribution.
And how does one address concerns about exorbitant amounts that are asked for or required, Mrs. Staff Thompson, at some schools? Because there's some person who, when they look on the amount that is expected to be paid, they feel it is over the top.
Right. Well, if they feel that it's over the top, then, you know, the channels that you can take, you go to the ministry, bring it to their attention, have the ministry get involved in it. But from where I sit, the schools, for the most part, most schools, it is made as affordable as possible. As the needs are in the schools, I believe that's what the administrators are really putting out there. So have a conversation with the administrators. You have a voice. Speak to them first and find out if it is that you can offer a service that they may be paying or that they don't really need.
Mr. Williams, you have the final word on that.
Yes, I would also say that parents have to be minded that the expenses of one school is oftentimes not the same as another school. So if you should compare, say, 5 of the top seeded schools, right? I won't call it any, but whichever school we want to call it, the top seeded schools, right? If you should really group them, you're going to find that their needs are different, right? So the needs of Arden may not be the same as Campion. The needs of Campion may not be the same as Calabar or St. Aloysius Primary. You have to look at the size of the plant, the size of the operations. What do they offer there, right? Some have an extensive computer lab service, some may not. So it varies. And so, as my friend said, there are channels. Go to the ministry, speak to them, and I'm sure they will address the matter. Speak to the school. See how best you too can offer service. There are persons at the school who are in IT. They may be in some scientific lab development or so forth. Who knows? Maybe their contribution to the school can help to reduce, some expenses. So these are some of the things, right? But I want persons to understand that the sum being asked by one school may appear rather high or disproportionate to others, but that's not how it is calculated. It is based on the needs analysis and what that school has to offer to its wider population.
Is it too arbitrary though, Mr. Williams? Too subjective? Left up to the schools to decide on that figure?
Well, I don't think so now, because remember that each plant is different, and if you have a school population of, say, 2,000 compared to a school population of 1,000, then your expenses are going to be different. And so it would be rather unfair for us to be comparing apples with grapes or bananas.
Okay. All right. On that note, I want to thank you both for joining us. Interesting points were made, and I hope that our listeners, especially parents and guardians, have a better understanding of how this system runs and ought to run. Have a productive and safe day, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Talk to Jane Bank today to find out about achieving your own sweet home in 30 days. The time by Jane Bank Mortgage is
7:30 and a half.
What is love? Love is what my mom did to raise me right. I guess that's why the best dressed chicken is the only chicken in my home. It's grown with no antibiotics ever, so that means it was raised right too. The only thing I can't figure out is what mom does to give it that little extra love. The best dressed chicken is simply the best chicken. If anyone's going to add something to my best dressed chicken, it's going to be me.
This is your moment.
No antibiotics ever is another way the best dressed chicken makes life delicious.
Look for our No Antibiotics Ever promise on every package.
Keep fully connected with Flow Fiber Fast Internet at home and on the road with LTE data and calls for a fast, reliable experience anywhere. Over 500 communities have been upgraded since 2020, making more of Jamaica Flow Fiber Fast. And with Yard and Road, get Flow Fiber Faster Yard and LTE Road for as low as $3,999 plus GCT. Visit discoverflow.co to get connected on Jamaica's largest network. Conditions apply.
Do you have a heart condition? Your care should be in the hands of our experienced cardiovascular team at Partners Interventional Center of Jamaica. We're one of the leading heart centers for angiogram, stenting, pacemakers, EP studies, and ablation therapy. PICJ has the expertise and latest technology to treat all your heart needs. Call 876-995-7425 or email info@pic-jm.com for appointments. PICJ, your partners for life.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Toussaint. Let's now look at the newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing in the Gleaner. Zombie ice from Greenland will raise global sea level 10 inches. Wow. Also in the Gleaner, having eloped 60 years ago, old fire sticks burn bright. And I think we heard about the fire stick matter earlier on in the program. In the Observer, Mark in a muddle. PNP president tries to address controversy without throwing fellow MP under the bus. In the Observer, Serena Williams, not done yet, wins first match at US Open. And also we see in Loop News, Golding addresses comments on lack of private sector support for PNP. And also in the Loop, we see Jamaican filmmaker takes out of many to Locarno. Well, those are some of the major stories in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our social media question. What's your personal plan to help lower your electricity bill? Please, we are asking you, leave a comment on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. We'll be right back.
He knows my name.
Here is your opportunity to connect with someone who will listen, pray, and give guidance. It's the telephone counseling ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church. Please call 876-220-6474. Weekdays between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. and Sundays between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Please Talk to someone if you're finding it particularly challenging to cope during this period of global crisis. Someone is waiting for your call. Please reach out today. 876-220-6474. It's the telephone counseling ministry of the Edgewater Baptist Church.
This is a reminder that somebody cares. Endorsed by Love 101.
He knows my name.
Road safety.
Love 101, the family station, invites you to Tech Time Drive. You can hear reminders and tips on why you should Tech Time Drive. On Tuesdays, Tech Time Drive is brought to you by Bert's Auto Parts. It hurts if you don't check Bert's. And on Wednesdays, Tech Time Drive is brought to you by AIM Financial Corporation Limited. AIM Financial Corporation has a loan for every purpose. Tech Time Drive, a bulletin of the road safety tips to help you keep safe and your head sound while driving. You only have one life. Drive it well. Tech Time Drive on the family station, Love 101.
And driving good on the road. Tell them this is how we do it.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now join Deidre for a look at how our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. What's your personal plan to help lower your electricity bill? And perhaps a comment from the first watch. Deidre.
Hi, so Nikki Brown from James Hill says, no matter how I try to reduce my electricity bill, it's the higher it goes up. I use the washing machine less. I turn off the lights when they're not in use. It's like the less you use, it's the more you pay. Cherry from Spanish Town says, there is nothing more I can do to lower my light bill. They say you use LED bulbs, plug out when not in use, did all of that, but still get a high bill. The only solution is to live one day at a time and trust God. Romario from Helshaw, I'm considering installing a solar system. Can't bother with JPS. At this rate, pun intended, the best way is to return to non-technological ways of living or forcing yourself to live without by allowing JPS to lock it off. That's Omar from Rhine Park. Sister Benjamin from Grand Spain.
Plug out everything. Plug out everything. The only thing you have to leave in is the fridge.
And most parents are guardians.
So those are the comments from the social media question, and this is Sister Lynette now on the first watch.
Good morning to you, Morning Watch. I don't think a lot of things that the lady is saying is true, because when you're paying the auxiliary fee, you pay the school fee different. You pay the auxiliary fee different from the PTA meeting. When you're going to primary, you pay the auxiliary fee different. You have to pay the insurance different, and you have to pay the PTA different. None of it come out of the auxiliary fee. So what she's saying is not true. Not true what she's saying.
Those are the comments this morning.
All right. That lady obviously has been having a different experience.
Yeah, apparently so.
Yes. All right. All right. Thank you so very much, those who responded. All right. As we now segue into the second watch. Now, if you were one of those on the government's electricity subsidy program for the last few months, and therefore benefited with a lighter than usual bill, your corner may be dark if you can't step up to life after the subsidy. Are we doing all we can to keep our bills as low as possible? Where or how can we do better? Well, to discuss these matters, we have joining us Ms. Joyce Campbell, Administrator at the National Consumers League, and Mr. David Barrett, Principal Consultant and Sole Proprietor of NBAR Consultancy. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Great. Good to have you joining us this morning on this very important topic. I trust you heard some of the comments from our listeners. Somebody said the less you use, the more you pay. Interesting stuff there. Let me begin with you, Mr. Barrett. Why is this? Why is this? As you know, as far as you're aware, in spite of the recent 20% subsidy by the government, why is it that our electricity bills seem to be and are so high?
Our electricity bill indeed is quite high, and in the Caribbean region, our rates are actually higher than some places in Europe and US. Of course, Trinidad is an exception because it has its oil and gas, which it uses to supply its power systems. So let's take Trinidad out, and in fact, perhaps let's also take Barbados out because they do have a little oil and gas. Our rates are quite high, but I think it is important if we can sort of reduce some of the anxiety that I heard earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You're hearing me well?
Yes, I'm hearing you, Mr. Barr. Go ahead.
All right. So perhaps to reduce some of the anxiety, I would say that the first thing people really need to do is to learn to read your GPS bill. Because the first thing that we tend to do is to look at the dollar value at the end. Is that true? I think
Yes,
it's
sir.
true.
Yes, sir.
Most persons just say, well, you know, I did everything I can. I still have a $15,000 bill, I have a $40,000 bill, and it's not changing. But if you look at your GPS bill, especially at the bottom, you'll see that GPS is getting about 30% of the total value of your bill, right? The
Mhm.
taxes are about 7% of the total value of your bill. The independent power producers, those are the others that give power to JPS to share for the nation, are getting about 17. And the big chunk of it is fuel. Almost 50% of your total bill is fuel. Now, we know Jamaica doesn't have oil and gas. That means that whatever happens in the global stage impacts us, right? However, if you know how to read your bill, I would say psychologically, it will help you to deal with the anxiety you have, right? That
Yes.
what you're doing is perhaps making a difference. The second thing I would perhaps say is if it is possible to keep your consumption below 100 kilowatt hours. Just a little detail, the kilowatt is the amount of capacity or the power of your system or what is delivered to us. But the amount of hours or minutes that you use it for is what really runs up your cost, right? So someone goes in a room, they turn on the fan, they turn on the light, they have the radio playing, and they say, oh, sure, that's not consuming much. So I'm going to run outside for 5 minutes, which turns out to be 2 hours, and come back. It is the kilowatt times the hours that is really going to bite you. So
Okay.
as soon as you're sorry, go ahead.
Well, tell you what, you're gone into the into some of the suggestions and so on.
Okay. All right.
I want to give Miss Joyce Campbell an opportunity to tell us about the impact that these electricity bills have been having on the average Jamaican consumer, as far as she knows. Mrs. Campbell, Miss Campbell.
Yes, I'm here. Now, in the 90s, the National Consumers League had a project with the IDB and JPS called the Demand Side Management. And we brought down in this country 30,000 household light bills. Because there are certain principles, if you follow in using the light, will definitely bring down your bill. One was the bulbs and the low flow shower head. When people go and use warm water to bathe and they put on the heater and so on, have the pipe running, that uses a lot of energy and water. So you have the low flow shower head and you have the LED bulbs, and you keep it. People do not understand that for every socket in the house, if you plug in anything, it starts to draw current. So therefore, if you are not using a particular item, do not plug it in.
All right. Okay. And the average consumer, Miss Campbell, I mean, you have been in touch with the consumers across Jamaica. How much would you say it has been affecting them?
Yes, it will affect them. because it will affect them if the bill goes up. Because when a lot of people do not earn a lot of money, and the purchasing power of foods and other things do make life hard. Because when things go up and you get one stagnant salary all the while, how do you budget? We do at the league, we say balance your budget. You have to learn how to balance, and to balance the budget, it becomes difficult.
Yes. All right. We're up on a break, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
Our music rocks the world.
Our athletes run the world.
And our culture brings the whole world to our shores.
After 60 years of independence, we have so much to celebrate. And if that wasn't enough, Sagicor Bank is giving you 60,000 more reasons to celebrate. From now until August 31, every $6,000 you spend on your Sagicor Bank credit card gives you a chance to be one of 60 winners of $60,000.
That's a whole heap of celebration.
Spend with your Sagicor Bank credit card for your chance to get 60,000 reasons to celebrate. Conditions apply.
Now more than ever, Protex reminds you to wash your hands. A 40-second hand wash with soap could help prevent COVID-19. Look for Protex at your nearest store.
Mommy, is who I ticket?
Hush, child. Me no want them see we.
But mommy, is the census takers?
Me not tell them my business.
But mommy, they need information about all the households to help make decisions about where to put things like clinics, stores, and new roads.
So?
Come, mommy. You count, me count, all our count.
Census Day is September 12th. Look out for the national census takers in your community and let them know you count.
CIBC First Caribbean reminds customers that our ABM cards will be deactivated on August 31, 2022. If you haven't already done so, please upgrade to our Visa debit card now by visiting your home branch to request a card. If you have already requested a card, when collecting it, please bring with you a valid photo ID, proof of address, and documentation to confirm your source of income. CIBC First Caribbean thanks you in advance for collecting your Visa debit card as soon as possible.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and in this, the second watch, we have been discussing the whole matter of the electricity bills. How can we lower those bills? And in so doing, we have online Mr. David Barrett, energy conservation expert, consultant, and Ms. Joyce Campbell of the National Consumers League. Mr. Barrett, before the break, you had begun telling us about some of the things we could or should not do to lower our electricity bills. Continue, sir.
Right. So if I can pick up from where Ms. Campbell mentioned, let's talk about our water heaters. Your water heater may consume anywhere from 1,500 watts to 3,000 watts. It's one of the heaviest consumers in your house. Now, some people say, okay, well, I'll just leave it on, it's not going to have any electrical issues. That's fine. But really, you only need to turn on your water heater for about 5 to 10 minutes max, and you can turn it off. You'll get warm water. People like to get their water sizzling hot, and then they put cold water on it. That's a complete waste of energy, right? Mm-hmm. And better than that, well, let me just say, the first thing we should do is behavioral change. Huh? Anything that you don't need to use, as Ms. Campbell said, turn it off. You're not watching the TV, turn it off. You're not in a room when the fan is blowing, turn it off. Okay.
Does that also include?
Plug it out.
Plugging it out. That's what I was going to ask. Plugging it out. Make a difference.
Yes.
Plugging it out can make a difference indeed, because there's a thing called phantom power. It consumes, 1-2 watts if it just sits there with the light on. Okay. Right. But if you are actually in the house and you're going to go back to it, then you actually don't save much for the effort you put in. If you're going to be away for the day, 2 days, etc., then sure, plug it out, turn it off.
Or even for the day when you're going out to work, plug out certain things until you come back in the evening, you plug them in.
Correct.
Okay.
And you want to also be careful not to damage equipment. So for example, your refrigerator, you would want to be plugging your refrigerator out and then plugging it back
No, not
in.
refrigerator. In the refrigerator
Yes.
that has to keep foods at temperatures. It does make sense to plug that in and out. That should be at stagnant there. But like a fan or so, don't have them plugged in all around the house. Even the microwave or so, keep it plugged in. No, when you're leaving, finish using them and going to work, plug them out. And then when you come back and ready to, you plug in.
Okay.
Right. So I agree. And I was just making a point that there are some devices where there's no value to plugging it out, but also you can damage your equipment by constantly plugging out and plugging in. So you have to balance that also. There are things like lights and your TV and your cable box, your computers, those things you can turn off or plug out completely for the day. But people tend to rush to energy efficiency. And I would say that after you have done all that you can in terms of behavioral change, then you should go to energy efficiency. Because if you're leaving on a nice 7-watt LED bulb all day, all night, it's still wasting electricity, right? So you have to have that behavioral pattern corrected first, then you go to efficiency. And then there are a whole wide range of efficient things. You have instantaneous water heaters. They only turn on when the pipe turns on. You have your LED bulbs, which have been mentioned.
The low flow shower head then.
You have your low flow shower heads, which are more about water saving. But if you're connected to a water heater, that's where you get the energy value.
Yes, of course.
Right, of course. And there are a myriad of other devices. But what some people have also done is they have gone the next level. Remember I said that fuel is over 49% of your total bill. And so what some people do is they get a solar photovoltaic system or wind. But solar is a more common one. And what solar will do for you is one, it reduces the amount of JPS current that you take. And two, it also may give you some additional benefits in terms of when the grid is down or when there's a hurricane, you might be one of those persons who come up very quickly. So people get solar systems and you can pay back for that system easily in about 4 years if you're on what is called the net billing program. That means that you sell your power to JPS at a rate of about 21 to 23 cents per kilowatt hours, and JPS will sell you power when you need it at a higher rate, anywhere from about $35 to $40 per kilowatt hour. So you may be getting a little revenue if you're putting out enough electricity, but you are also using the electricity that you generate yourself. So it does cut your bills significantly.
Before I go to Ms. Campbell, let me just ask about the solar setup there.
Sure.
First of all, in light of a hurricane, natural disaster like a hurricane, persons are concerned about those things being on the roof. Are they sustainable? Can they withstand hurricane force winds?
Yes. The standard now is 3+ or 4 category 4 storms. So if you have the right installer, that's very important, who follows international standards, and we do have a Caribbean standard for energy efficiency and renewables. If they follow those standards, your system can be anchored to your roof, sufficient to withstand up to about Cat 4 storms. In fact, there are many videos of the past hurricanes where the system is lifted with the roof. So the bigger concern you might have is making sure your roof have hurricane straps and is anchored. But yes, they can withstand the being removed. What they might have a challenge with are flying items. So, things which fly in a hurricane, they might damage the system. Right. But the price on your panels or your modules are fairly low now. I mean, at about $18,000, you can get a replacement panel, right? So you can replace in the event of a hurricane, but of course, that's not going to be different from any other loss you might have in your house for a hurricane. But yes, they are quite resilient now.
Yeah. Miss Campbell, for the individuals, those individuals who can't afford a solar system or hydro system or wind system, what are some of the other practical ways that you would suggest to the average consumer?
Just, well, as I said, to the bulbs, the low flow shower heads, and to follow the principles of if you don't have things plugged in when you're not really using them, like a fan or other little instrument. And for instance, you leave the washing machine plug out and you're gone for the day, plug it out. Until
Dr.
when you're ready
Toussaint.
to use.
Yes.
Dr. Toussaint.
Yes, sir.
Can I? Yes, I do want to debunk an assumption, and that is a solar system is so super expensive that you can't afford it. The truth is that the solar system is modular. So you can start with one panel, one small inverter, get your wiring done for less than $200, in fact, less than $150,000. That will give you a little bit.
So one
when you
panel,
get a little bit more money,
one panel would do what in the house in practical terms?
Well, one panel, the sizes now are about 350. Some of them go up to 420 watts, and they are constantly generating. So that can easily take some of the demand of smaller devices, your TV, your radio, and so on. But remember now that these are devices that you're running for hours. And as I mentioned, it's not the kilowatt that bites you. It's the amount of hours that you're using the device for. So your system runs as long as there's sunlight, right? And takes off some of your demand from JPS. And when you get some more money, you get another panel. And when you get more, you get another panel. So you can space your purchase and the increase in the size of your system based on your affordability.
Yes. Miss Campbell, in terms of
Education. Any panels at all will just learn to follow the principles of
the basic principles.
Using, have the bulbs with which I'm saying the bulbs really do help, and I know the low flow shower head do help, and the other principles of not when you go to the refrigerator. A lot of people go in and out each time you open the door of the refrigerator. In and out. That helps to burn a lot of energy, right?
Right.
You have to learn to have your tray in the kitchen, and for breakfast you go once in and for all. You take out your milk, your whatever you're going to use, your eggs, your so and close it back and don't go. And especially the children, you have to tell them no more. Don't go in the fridge so often. I mean, you have to keep them from the fridge.
I've been hearing both of you can address this. First, Miss Campbell, you heard about the thing about a fan, putting the fan at the window rather than away from the window. You ever heard about that, Miss Campbell?
No, I have not heard about that one. So when it is at the window, what it does?
I don't know. It perhaps takes in the air from outside and better puts it into the room. I don't know, Mr. Barrett. You have an answer to that?
Yes, there are some very simple tricks that we can do. I have fans in my house, and I tend to use fans only. And I place them at windows or entry points. And you have to bear in mind that the best ventilation you will get is if the air comes in at one point and goes out somewhere else. So literally, if you can direct that fan or put the back of the fan by a window and direct it towards a door or towards another window, you get the best airflow, right? And you improve the cooling. But you also can
their air condition first, and then after they turn off the air conditioner and then put on the fan, and that the fan will keep that cool air circulating in the house. That's another.
Right, and that's another solution. But just the quick and easy ones. You can also put literally behind that fan a bottle of ice.
Yes, I've heard about that.
And that you actually take off cool air and blow through. That's literally what your air conditioner does.
does,
It
right.
creates a cool space, and the fan that is inside your house that you can see is blowing air over the fans, which are have fluids. And then what Miss Campbell mentioned is correct. You can turn on your AC if you have one, turn it really low, turn your fan on. It really helps.
Have to. Well, thank you so very much, both of you, for joining us. Very interesting, very informative. Have a productive day. Have a productive day.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
All right. Thank you, listeners, for
And the
being with us.
National Consumers League is always here. People seem to forget us.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we continue to set the stage for a discussion of topical and controversial issues. For information how to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-959627. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale. And let me, on behalf of the Morning Watch team, express condolences to you, Kathy, on the recent passing of your father. Be assured of our ongoing prayers for you and the family. I'm Dylan Toussaint, handing you back to Love in the Morning with Deja Parchment.
The NHF is here for you, helping Jamaican residents pay less for medical